Welcome to a new Planetary and Seismic update. A major earthquake occurred the other day just north of Nepal in southern China, and that happened early on the 7th, in the first hour on the 7th. And remember, I said that around the 6th there is the potential for a major earthquake, and this was because of the lunar conjunctions with Saturn and Neptune that we had on the 4th and on the 5th. And that was preceded by critical planetary geometry, the pair of semi-right angle geometry with Mercury, Venus and Neptune, and also the planetary conjunction with the Sun, Venus and Uranus on the 3rd. And if you look at the SGI graph here, magnitude 5.5 and larger earthquakes, we also see a significant cluster of stronger earthquakes, 5.5 and larger, and a real cluster there on the 1st and on the 2nd and the 3rd. And at the time of this planetary near convergence of critical planetary geometry. Now, regarding this major earthquake in north of Nepal, on 17 December we picked up an atmospheric anomaly and we marked that very region. Interestingly, from the 17th of December to the 1st of January, we did not detect any significant atmospheric anomaly. So, it's interesting because it was 3 weeks before the earthquake and no significant fluctuations in between from the 17th to the 1st of January. So it is always significant, always important to check out the atmospheric anomalies. They're not always correct, but they can be helpful, and certainly in this case it was. We detected the atmospheric anomaly and we also marked around the 6th potentially for a major earthquake. So that is actually the seismic activity that we had. Again, very significant clustering here on the 2nd, around 1st, 2nd and 3rd. Also very important to observe. So let's have a look at the geometry that we're going to have in the coming time frame from the 6th until the 15th. We're a little bit late with this video. We're going to have two convergences that are noteworthy. That is on later on the 7th, yesterday night, and that was semi-right angle geometry with the Moon, Jupiter and the Moon, Saturn. There are only a few hours in between, 45 degrees both, and that happens at the very same time that Mercury, Venus and Uranus are in a planetary conjunction. And that could result in stronger seismic activity, maybe into the mid-6 magnitude range in the next 2 days or so, but I expect some clustering there, the typical higher 5 magnitude earthquakes following that very peak. And then we're going to have also, I almost forgot, there's also Earth, Moon, Mars at right angle geometry at the very same time, converging with the semi-right angle geometry with Jupiter and Saturn. It all converges there late on the 7th, yesterday night. And then we're going to have significant lunar conjunctions, that is with Uranus on the 9th and with Jupiter on the 10th. There's not really critical planetary geometry preceding those lunar conjunctions, so I could say around the 12th could be potentially, there could be a major or a larger earthquake, but I'm not so sure this time. There could be some seismic response, maybe into the 6 magnitude range, but there is not really let's say a critical convergence of planetary geometry preceding the Moon-Jupiter conjunction on the 10th. But in any case, keep an eye on the 12th, around the 12th. On the 11th, Mercury, Sun, Uranus, planetary conjunction. And then we're going to have a very interesting lunar geometry, pure lunar geometry, no critical planetary geometry in there. That is later on the 13th at the time of full moon. And what we see there is a lunar conjunction with Mars, that is early on the 14th, a few hours later, and that converges with semi-right angle lunar geometry with Venus, with Jupiter and with Saturn, and that all happens later on the 13th, early on the 14th. And again, no critical planetary geometry involved, but we are probably going to see the typical stronger earthquakes following that peak. That's on the 14th and 15th, and there could be a maybe higher 6 magnitude in there. That's my current estimate. Again, check out the updates in the social media. We do additional updates if we think that there is the potential for a major earthquake. Okay, so in the description box you will find links to atmospheric anomalies. We share them in our social media, and it is really worth looking at those atmospheric anomalies because they potentially indicate regions where there could be larger seismic activity as far as we can determine. Okay, this is the update for now. Stay safe. Until next time.